demonic angel. Today I'm going to do a video reply video to this guy's channel that I recently came across. I was actually looking for another gentleman of a similar name on YouTube, and then I came across this guy and I was like, okay, I dig it. And I was just watching, some of his videos. He is Black Magick Sorcerer, with a little period, little dot thing at the end of his name. I'll actually link his video in the description below because he's asking for video replies of this topic. So I thought, what the heck? Plus, I did want to revisit this and kind of summarize. So maybe like once a year I would talk about some of my, hey, here's my list again of my favorite movies or music, if you're looking for that, or whatever YouTube videos, creators I like, books I read. Every once in a while is a good refresher. So today's little topic is physical manifestations. I haven't seen many in recent years, but when I was a kid, even thinking about it again, it really was like it's a physical manifestation. Even down to like smells and details of people's skin, and when I could see them, but it really for the most part, when I was a kid, it did physically manifest to the point where even if people looked sort of gray, damaged, or just normal, like normal people, but there was that human-like quality that, I thought everybody just saw this, but I still can only really look back on it and describe it that way. Now, the biggest ones are just that I would physically see a shadow manifest, and the first time it manifested, I was like awake in bed, and I had slept in a different room of the house. Anyway, there wasn't much light, it was just enough to see, and I saw a really tall, completely black shadow, which, it just glided. But I had never seen a black shadow like that before, and it was really, stunk really bad. Very, very scary, even though there was no features, and it was definitely taller than a human being. But I still, even as a kid, I was asking my dad if that was him. And that was the first time I saw the shadow. I had seen many other dead people before, but this was like the hauntings connected to my family home. But once I saw that shadow, then everything started, the poltergeist activity and all that stuff. So I did see that shadow occasionally, and it would always be in the closet or in the hallway watching me, and it would be like, it's a physical manifestation, and it would just I could see the back of it or whatever, like that last second of it leaving the room and whatever. And it was really scary because, the no eyes aspect and everything. But that, after some months of foul smells, whispers, my sister experienced this stuff just to a lesser degree. Of course it picked on me because I'm extremely psychic, so but just hearing the voices, and the voices would, I've learned other people would describe, is just like muffled, like it sounds like it's coming from another room. So you could hear a conversation between, two individuals, but you can't really make out exactly what's being said. And then I would see a teenage boy, and he would wear those like kind of whitewashed jeans with the striped shirt, very 70s looking. And he would appear, but I would hear him yelling, that sounded like somebody like yelling, maybe from underwater, which, so it makes sense that it's hard, it really alters sound when it comes from this other dimension. So, but I saw him all the time, and I would usually see him before this other black shadow, which turned out to be a dead guy who murder-suicided himself and these two people, because the house sat vacant for many years. But the girl would just appear as, and when I say appear, I mean once, like you're looking, I would be looking straight ahead, and just the next second I would be looking at somebody. Like, typically that's how it was for me. So it wouldn't be like if something slowly manifests. It's just without me turning my head, my attention. Sometimes, of course, I'd turn my head back around, and there's somebody there. But it would just full materialization. And that probably has to do with the way my mind perceives things, I'm sure, but I still can only describe it as physical. And the woman just never blinked or interacted. But the weird thing was, she didn't talk. She didn't do anything. She just kind of would be there and just stare ahead. And she never asked, yelled help like the kid did, or anything. So it was like she was just so drained, I kind of almost think, by this other entity, that it was just like, she was reduced to residual parts of an ego, to where there, she like didn't have this subjective conscious thought. It was just literally like the ghost of a person, but like in that sense of there's nothing else to it except, just that I would see her. My dad saw that I had such bad sleepwalking problems that I was about to go to a sleeping doctor, actually. Right before puberty this happened, where it was just really bad. And that actually does run in my family. But my dad saw a guy across the street, and he's like, I saw a guy in a striped shirt, and he was waving, like jumping up and down, waving his hands. And so my dad ran outside of the house, and I was going down the street towards like a park. So, my dad saw, he's describing the same guy I saw. And I couldn't believe that. I actually never slept walk again. And I, not too long after that, did a little bit of soul searching for a young kid, and found some strength to set some boundaries, and move that dead guy on, who just wanted to. He attacked me because the guy was coming to me for help, but this guy, the dead guy who was the murderer, was feeding off of them, and he did not want that for me to help them move on. And so that was just really this pure and simple motivation in that scenario. But yeah, what would happen if my dad wasn't watching TV and saw this guy, like, walking around, at night, sleepwalking? It doesn't matter if it's a small town or something, that there's still that danger. So I really don't know. I have I have seen objects move, but not, I mean, it's not really that intense. I have seen glasses fly off the shelf, not fall. Like, you know, even if you weren't sure if that's the case, if it falls straight down, but I'm talking about like flies off of the counter, like like crashes with this intensity. I've seen that. So that's really kind of, even when I kind of like, I'm sure like the rest of you, think, did this really happen to me? I can't explain that at all. That, I mean, saying that it's all part of my mind and the goetic spirits are different functions of my mind, that really sits well with like the way my mind is, very easily for most situations. It's very applicable. But that really does not explain. I used to watch door handles jiggle to the, like I had those closets that could open, and I would physically see that. And then like I've seen cabinets open because my house, you know, that was haunted. And it, you know, it would happen really intensely for a few days, and then it would kind of stop. But I would walk into the kitchen and I mean, it was to scare me. And then, you know, whatever I wasn't focusing my direct attention on, I would hear it first, and then I would look and see the cabinet moving, open. And, you know, just sometimes I'd get those intense cold spots and that feeling like, I mean, you know, somebody's standing in your face. And, you know, so yeah, I've seen cabinet drawers open. I've seen glasses fly off a shelf. And eventually the murderer guy, he actually did start to choke me in my sleep. I was a young, you know, prepubescent girl. I think that just gave off this excess energy, especially because I'm an empath. And this guy was just so violent, though, that's how it would feel. To me, it didn't feel like hands, but it felt like a suppression of, like, the ability to speak or really breathe right. Like, it was just, like, part of it was the fear was so intense, but I could feel like pressure that was happening inside of me. And I don't really, I guess that really doesn't count as physical manifestation, except I would have some bruising on my neck, and I had sometimes I would even, maybe 2 or 3 times I got scratched. Like, I didn't have cats, I didn't do it with my nails, but I got scratched in unexplainable ways. So, you know, that's pretty physical. Now that I have learned to control my energy, I'm just dedicated a good part of my life to the occult, trying to learn how to, you know, how to best use this talent of witchcraft. I don't see things that way, except, you know, last Halloween, October 2020, in the couple of weeks before we almost all got in a car crash, I usually drive around because my partner works more than me, so I would just say I'll do the driving. But in the couple of weeks before then, I had been hearing noises, and it didn't make any sense. Like, it sounded like somebody was out in the kitchen moving boxes around. Like, you know, you hear somebody dragging like a cardboard box on a tile floor, but there was no boxes out here like that. You know, that's like what freaked me out, or I suppose it's, you know, unexplainable things do still perplex me, and you know, that's how it is. But I normally don't have a lot of that. If I do rituals and there's a little bit of heightened feelings of energy, a little bit of a restless noises, then that's completely normal. I have those very minor things. I'm not seeing it, but I feel that energy of ritual. This was not this. This was I heard banging, not like pipes in the wall. It sounded like somebody was taking pots and pans and banging them against each other, but like not really loud. Just, you accidentally banged one pot into another, not trying, but that's very distinctive sound. And so as that went on, it just got more and more intense until the night before I was supposed to go, drive my family members. I was up all night listening to the noises because every time I was almost asleep, because I can tune the dead noises out all the time. This did not care about this. Every time I was almost asleep, it was right there, happening again. But it was like, okay, I could hear a box. I've heard it before in the prior weeks, and now I'm listening to this again. And there wasn't even that object out here in the living room. And I'm just like, okay, pots and pans, they're right on the stove in the way they should have been. But there was just random things, like I had cleaned up, after I babysat my nieces and nephews, and I cleaned up like all their toys and whatever for the day. And then like there was just random piles of them, like one would be by the couch and another one would be kind of by like the television. So if I didn't, know any better, or if I was just tired and like forgot about that, I would know that. But I'm so meticulous in routine, especially if it's like something like, all right, put away everything for the next day, brush your teeth, that kind of stuff. That's very like, I'm very attached to my routine, so no way. It's just crazy. And, even thinking like I heard toys going off, and they're all night. I was tired, and I said, I'm not driving. And I think that really saved us, because if I had been driving in that kind of a tired way, and I'm just probably a slightly less experienced driver, could have altered the whole thing. But that's seriously why it's not exactly why, but it's a big draw of necromancy for me, is that whatever spirits, whatever dead people that I invite into my life, it's usually, on a come and go basis, and sometimes I think that they are able to sense. They do. It's like the ideas on necromancy, where the dead have this kind of knowledge that is, free from the bounds of specific time and space, and there can be that sense of that. That's why people call the dead for divination. So if they sense that you're in danger, if you're helping dead people, they know, and they will do favors for you. They will make your life rich. I do guarantee that in some way, if you take necromancy seriously and respectfully, that you will have people looking out for you, literally. So that's honestly, I guess my last little part of my story is that recently I've been kind of, I'm not sure exactly what my draw to it was, but I've been trying to imagine myself, like what I would look like as a man. I think just kind of talking to people about astral projection and saying, do you see your body when you astral project? Or is it more like you're kind of inside of the person that you envision as you just going through the motions? But since I envision myself as a person, as an astral body, I started thinking of myself in this like a masculine version. Specific haircut, like eventually these details have come to me over the past, I don't know, year and a half. Just kind of laughing it off, thinking, wow, what a great imagination I have, that's nice. And I must say that the gentleman that I have envisioned myself to look like, he's very attractive, I think that he would be a real hit with the ladies if he was real. But in some way that is real, because it's like a play on your anima and animus. I mean, that idea that whether you're, even if you're a big dude, you still have to be in touch with your feminine aspects, and vice versa. If you're a woman, you have to be in touch with your masculine aspects. Anyway, the story is that my friend Emily, she was going to come over, and other people were supposed to arrive as well. But I had just left the front door unlocked because I was doing some other things, I think cooking, and I went outside. I actually think I went and I ran off somewhere to feed the birds. But so she goes, I come back through the front door, and she was standing in the kitchen, kind of looking around like, I smell food going, but where'd you go? And she just had this look like she was perplexed on her face when I walked through the door. And she was just like, turned her head, looking around. It's probably happened like a month ago. And I'm like, okay, what's up? And she's like, where did the guy go? Where did that guy go who was just standing here? And I go, well, what was he doing? And she was like, he had his back kind of turned towards me, but it looked like he was like cooking. So I thought that it was your partner at first, but it doesn't look like that. So I was just wondering, where did this person go? Because we were having people over, we just like shut the bedroom doors. Then everybody stays out in the living room and kitchen, the common areas. And I said, okay, like, I just was like, what if she saw? Because I was standing there when I was cooking. I started to imagine my male alter ego that I haven't named. And I started cooking with channeling that energy. And then I run off to go do whatever. But I think she saw my masculine alter ego that I've kind of been playing with a little bit by just kind of imagining. And she's like, oh yeah, he had like that, what did she say, 80s hair? And she was like, oh yeah, he was, he had a shirt on and long pants, and he was wearing bracelets and whatever. Like, she was able to give a good amount of detail, but she remembers things like that. Now, this lady does not imagine anything, and to be honest with you, she has no imagination, because she's actually moderately autistic, identifies as asexual. So she's so logical. We have a mutual love of rocks and alternative medicines and death. But she doesn't care about anything paranormal. She just does not, there's nothing imaginative about her. So that really, of course I wish I could get that across even better about how she is, but she just doesn't imagine things. And of course, she even asked my partner, hey, did you see anybody I swear I saw somebody come in, and then, you know, eventually our other friends come over, but they weren't, there wasn't any skinny, lanky gentleman. So I thought that was really funny. Now, I don't talk about, you know, like I said, the occult with her. So somebody saw a physical manifestation of a moment where I just let this moment be so intense that I just kind of really connected with and channeled that, and that actually was able to be physically witnessed by somebody. I mean, she probably just walked into that energy and you know, read the environment in that kind of way. Kind of like the stone tape theory. I have, you know, I've totally rambled on, and I'm probably like the worst video reply person ever, but I guess that, yeah, that really covers that range of things that I would say stand out to be, you know, physically impressive just through a witness, watching objects move, and then just the way that I used to physically see people is very, it's all very convincing. And of course the most convincing stuff is watching doorknobs move and there's nobody there, watching doors open and close and there's nobody there, glasses flying off of shelves, my dad's tools going, some of them missing forever, some of them randomly reappearing, and you know, showing up. We even had a saw show up on the roof, and of course there's just no explanation for that, and we would have heard somebody because he was actually about to work on the roof for problems like it needed that. There had been some wood rot, so I still can't cut a logical explanation for that. I mean, nobody was on the roof, but you know, those things really stand out to me as highly convincing, even to my skeptical mind, which I still have, even though I don't have to be as skeptical towards, I mean, I'm really pretty open to believing things. It just depends on if that's what I think meshes with me, resonates with me. So I don't know, why don't you guys tell me what you think for ideas for video replies. Do one. Heck, do a comment story about what you have physically seen manifest. Was it in ritual? Give us some context. And yeah, basically, I did think, well, my idea for a video reply, and if nobody does, I'll just do it eventually, is what makes you eccentric? I think all of us occultists, paranormal enthusiasts, Satanists, Luciferians, I think that we're kind of an eccentric bunch in some way. And so I was going to kind of talk about, I suppose, what might be like viewed as eccentric about myself. Random topic, but at the same time I think like that literally everybody who enjoys this interest, I mean, has some eccentricities to boast about, and I'd like to hear them. So thank you, Black Magick Sorcerer, for the idea, and I'll talk to you guys later.